Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade and today we're going to go over my May reads. If you are new here, welcome. I love to read. I love to talk about books. I love to make videos about books. And I read pretty much every genre. I love to read backlisted books, new books. I love it all. Before we get into the video, if you could give me a thumbs up, if you could like and subscribe, let me know what you read in May. I would love to know. Thanks so much, and let's get into the video. So let's get into my May stats. I only read 10 books in May, which was surprising. Like April was this amazing reading month, and then May just really kicked my butt, and I was not able to read a lot in May. I did not complete my TBR for May. I was just really unable to do it. I read 5 audiobooks and 5 were immersion reads, so the audiobook with the physical book. I had 1 reread. I did not read any from my 26 for 2026 TBR. I gave one book 5 stars and I DNF'd 6 books. I did not calculate my average rating, but I'll put it somewhere. I have a feeling it's kind of low for this month. But the first book that I finished in May is my 5-star, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is a YA fantasy that I have wanted to read for a long time, and I got it at a library sale for $1, a hardcover. I annotated this book. I had a very good time with this book, and the glare is kind of bad. And I definitely want to read more Laini Taylor. This gave me hope for YA fantasy again because I was let down in April by YA fantasy quite a bit. This is good. It's such a magical book. I love that there was no spice, but there was love, young, kind of innocent love, and it was just so beautiful and so cool. Stuff that happened in this book, I was like, that I've never thought of. The magic in this book was very unique. In this book, we're following Lonzo Strange, an orphan and a librarian who's always dreamed of this lost city of Weep. That's what it's called. And people keep trying to go to this city and failing. They have to cross a desert, I think, to get to this city that people are not really sure exists or not. And he dreams of going there, and he does. And what he finds there is maybe love, some mythical creatures with blue skin, with unique magical powers, magical gifts, magical curses, maybe. And it was just so beautifully written. I don't want to say too much about it, but if you like YA, cool magic, like the moths, that was kind of creepy, but also really cool. Magic involving these moths, ghosts, and just classic YA fantasy with no spice. That was so great. Then I would recommend this book. I know this is an older book, and I'm just so glad that I finally got to read it. So that was my 5-star. It was so good. The next book I don't have a physical copy of, but it's The Girl You Left Behind by Jojo Moyes. I think that's how you say her name. I listened to this. This is a historical fantasy, and I liked this. I gave it 3 stars. This is about 2 women a century apart during World War I. Sophie struggles to protect her family from the Germans that are occupying France. She owns, I think, this hotel, this very nice, or used to be nice hotel, but the war has taken its toll on the hotel, and the Germans are going to take it over, and like the captains or like the higher ranking Germans are going to stay there. Sophie's under a lot of scrutiny from her small town. They don't like that there are Germans in her hotel, even though it's not by her choice. The captain Sophie talks to her. People maybe think they're a little too friendly, and her husband has been in the war. She doesn't know what's happened to him, but she's holding on to the hope that he's alive. And then it jumps, and stuff happens, but then it jumps to 2006, I believe. We're following a woman who owns this painting from her late husband. It means a lot to her, and there's a legal battle over the ownership of this painting. And the painting is what ties these 2 stories together. Thought it was good. I really liked that the stories were connected by art. Like, I like the discussion of art and that this painting meant so much in both stories. I gave it 3 stars. There were maybe a few things in the story that I didn't like, but I don't think we're supposed to like. But this is about love, sacrifice, loss. I think there were just some elements of the story that kind of took me out of the story a little bit. There were things that I didn't think needed to be in the book. I don't know. It was a 3. I like stories taking place during this time, and yeah, it's good. I've been trying to find historical fiction authors other than Kristen Hanna. I want to read all of Kristen Hanna's books, but I was like dabbling in a lot of her books. I think I tried 3 books by this author. I DNF'd 2 of them, but this one was the best one so far. Next book that I read, I had a reading vlog on, and that is Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. I think that this is going to be a fantasy series that blows up. This is the indie edition. They are getting traditionally published, and I think it's going to blow up. He has done talking panels with like Brandon Sanderson, so I think Brandon Sanderson's going to put him on the map. I annotated this a lot. This was very fun. We're following Callan. This is a coming of age dragon fantasy story. This book starts off with him like becoming a man, having to stay in the woods for a few days with other boys his age, and whoever comes back with the biggest like kill wins. I don't remember what they win exactly, but they win the challenge. And then he gets into some trouble at a bar. He offends the wrong people, and that starts his journey with his friends that were with him, and then a few characters that have some cool powers. There is a dragon egg. There are dragon riders. We have not been introduced to them just yet, but there's a dragon guard, and we're following them as he's learning to use his magic, learning a little bit about dragons. There are mages, there are dwarves, elves. I really liked all of the fantasy elements in this book. I thought it was very fun. However, I do feel like this book was very fast. I feel like he could have slowed down a lot more in this book. I did not expect like his magical powers to manifest in book 1 at all. And he was already like his magical abilities fairly early in the book, like learning how to use them. And I just like, whoa, like I didn't think you were going to be able to like use them already. There were other things that I don't want to spoil, but I just felt like so much happened in book 1 that I thought was going to be like book 3. For sure book 2. And that could just be that this is his first book, and maybe his writing will be better in book 2. I do think it is a very fun book. I do want to read book 2, but I could just tell that this was his first book. There's also some dialogue that just kind of felt immature for a fantasy book that is like Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time. Like I feel like that's what we're trying, or like Aragon, that this kind of reminds me of Aragon as well. They use the F word and like cuss words that I was just like, the book doesn't need these cuss words. It almost makes it seem like it's like trying to be more adult, but feels juvenile to use that language in this book. So that's what I thought of this book. I do think since this is getting traditionally published, I saw on his website that somewhere that the text will be a little bit different. I don't know if there are edits that were made in the traditionally published book. I think so. I don't know how much, but I do think it's needed. But that was the next book. I gave it 4 stars. I had a very fun time with it, but I do think there were some issues. However, I do think the series is going to be really good. The next book that I read was Watermoon. I listened to this. This is a fantasy magical realism book. This is set in Tokyo in a pawn shop. We're following our main character, Hana, who inherits this pawn shop from her father. But this pawn shop is magical. It doesn't appear to everyone. And if you go into this pawn shop, there is a reason that you like enter there. Her father vanishes, and the whole book is basically her trying to find her father and trying to figure out what happened to her mother. It's very like Alice in Wonderland-esque, very dreamlike. This world that this pawn shop is in is very strange. There's so much magical stuff happening. There is a love interest. I gave this 3 stars. I really dislike the narrator's voice on Audible. I do think that really affected my listening experience with this book. I also just kind of felt like I was overwhelmed a little bit by all of the magic. I think I was ready at one point for them to like stop looking for her dad. I felt like the story was kind of repeating itself. Like they would meet with someone, find information, and then like meet with someone else and get more information. I don't know. I felt a little bit agitated, if that's the right word, with the book. I do think it was very beautiful and very like pleasing. Like I feel like I could see it, and the end was really good. I think maybe it was, I don't know, a little too long. I didn't like the narrator's voice, and I just felt overwhelmed. That's how I felt. But I think I expected to love it more than I did. I am glad I read it. My sister read it and loved it. My mom loved it. So I wanted to read it as well. I wanted to know. And I just don't think I loved it as much, but I do think it was a beautiful book. My next book I covered up because I hate the cover. So this is not the cover of the book. This is my cover. I read The Love of My Afterlife by Christy Greenwood. This is the original cover here. I made my own, as you can see here. It's a laundromat because there's a very big laundromat reference in the book. So I thought that was kind of funny. And I made it look way more like serious than the cover actually is. I expected to love this more than I did. This is a romantic, supernatural comedy following Delphi. She died while eating like a microwave burger and wakes up in a laundromat in the like quite heaven, but like right before you go into the afterlife. And she meets with the therapist who talks to people before they enter the afterlife. She's like the gatekeeper, kind of helps them talk through it, shows them their life before they go into the afterlife. However, her therapist decides that she wants to send Delphi back because sometimes that happens, like they can be sent back for her own entertainment to find her soulmate. And she has, I think, 10 days. And if she finds her soulmate and gets him to kiss her, yes, then she can stay alive and not have to go back to the afterlife. So she's sent back to, she's alive, and now she's hunting down this guy who she believes is her soulmate, trying to get him to kiss her. This was a fun book. I don't feel like I've read a romantic comedy before. This might be my first. I had a fun time, but this is a book I'm not going to remember for years. I feel like it's kind of forgettable. It was not nearly as memorable as I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be more sad, a little bit more thought-provoking. It was kind of thought-provoking because she realizes after going back how she wants to live her life because she's afraid that maybe she hasn't lived enough. But I don't know that I'm a fan of a romantic comedy book. I'm already not a very big fan of romance, but it was fine. I don't know that I would really recommend it. It was okay. I'm not a romance reader, so I don't recommend romance very much. I then read The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulek. I've read Hidden Pictures by this author, and I preferred Hidden Pictures. I really liked that book. I read it so fast. This story, we're following Frank, a working class father who is reunited with his estranged daughter when she becomes engaged to this very wealthy artist, and she invites him to the wedding. He hopes that this will help their relationship because something has happened in the past. They grew apart, and he's really hoping that this is a second chance for him. Not everything is as it seems at this wedding. I was not expecting what was happening. I was not expecting it. Frank sees that there are things maybe wrong with their relationship. with the artist and his daughter. There are little things happen throughout the wedding or like the days before the wedding that make him kind of question this family that she's marrying into, a very wealthy family that has like invented batteries for a company that kind of seems like Tesla, something like that. So they have like a lot of money. No. So he's trying to uncover what's really going on with their relationship. Through this process, he's also creating a father-daughter like relationship with this little girl who is living with his sister as a foster child. And she just so badly wants to be loved, wants to be a part of what's going on. And he kind of sees her as like a bother most of the time. And we see him kind of dealing with two different daughter relationships. His daughter that kind of sees him as the problem, as annoying, and she doesn't spend time with him. And then the little girl that it really admires him and wants to spend all the time with him. So it was a good thriller. I had a good time. I did like Hidden Pictures. I remember liking Hidden Pictures a lot. And this one was good. I feel like I'm really picky with thrillers. I did like it. I like the daughter-father relationship, and it's very different to what I've read, other father-daughter relationships that I've read about. It was sad too. I gave it 3 stars. I feel like I'm pretty stingy with my ratings for thrillers, but I enjoyed it and I thought it was good. There were lots of twists and turns. The next book that I read was The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin, who wrote Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which I really enjoyed. So I was excited to read this. Also, Haley something, the big YouTuber that just came out with her book, a romance book, she recommended this book, so I picked it up. We're following AJ, who is a bookstore owner. His wife has passed away. It's been a little while, and it's been, I believe, a year, and he finds a baby in his bookstore, closing hours. He finds this baby, and the wish of the mother is that the daughter found her home, that she grows up surrounded by books. She thinks this is a good place for the baby. And we follow his relationship with the baby because he decides to raise her. And we're following his relationship with his daughter. This book is very centered around books. It's about life. It is about grief. The end is sad. And I thought it was... I gave it 4 stars. I'm actually surprised. I was thinking this was a 3. My brain right now, it's a 3. It's not a 4. But go with your initial gut feeling. I think it was the end that made it a 4. Because the end was really good and sad. So if you like books about books in a bookstore, books about life and love, father-daughter relationships, then I would recommend this. I like Gabrielle Zevin's writing, so I thought it was good. Then I read something very different. I read a Russian classic, Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is a very short classic about a man that is very unhappy, has a lot of thoughts. I had a good time reading this. I annotated it a lot. I underlined a lot of what he said. This is just... half of this book is just him talking to, writing a letter to these men, talking about what he believes. And then the second about his life a little bit. Life and himself, what he believes. And then the second half is us seeing maybe why he feels this way, how conflicted he is about certain things. He is really in his head about things. He talks a lot about what makes a man. It's a pretty unhappy person. And I like that it was divided into 2 stories, because I'm glad we got to see in part 2 maybe why he feels so miserable all the time and just how much this guy spirals. I don't know that I would recommend this classic. I'm very glad that I read it. I wanted to read a Russian classic. I want to read so many more classics. I wanted to read this to see if I want to read Crime and Punishment, which I do think I want to read after reading this. Even though this wasn't my favorite book ever, I enjoyed how dark this was. And I think I like his writing. But this was not terribly interesting. It wasn't this like, it's just a lot of his thoughts. But I love this cover, the simplicity of these covers, these editions I love. And I want to read more Russian classics. I really want to read Kafka. And I do want to read Crime and Punishment because I do think I'm going to like that more than this. But I saw that, like, on the internet, that you should read this or White Nights before reading his longer classics. And I do really want to read White Nights as well. So if you're trying to read more classics, this is really short. But I'm glad I read it. I just don't know that I would like to tell my mom and my sister, like, oh, I need to read this classic. Because I could see how people could think this is really boring and just miserable. I reread Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I had a good time with this. It was my same experience that I had the first time. This is a really good fantasy. I am sad that they changed the covers to these, I guess I don't really know, but very AI looking covers that have no personality to them, like, are beautiful. Their covers are so pretty. And I think that the new covers do not match the style of these books. Covers look weird. I'm sorry. I think my daughter just woke up. Yeah. I was very upset when I saw that they changed the books. I have book 1 and 2, but I do not have book 3 in these editions. And now they don't even sell these indie editions, I guess. Like, in my opinion, indie editions are just like better than traditionally published. That's the case with these books. They're so pretty. But we're following Tisana. She's a slave that is able to escape her captor and go to her people. I don't remember what her people are called, but she wants to learn how to use her magic and pledge herself to the orders. But she's older than a lot of people that like go through the training, and because she's like, I don't know, I think she's like 19 or 20. And children usually learn the stuff that she's learning. So she's very behind, but she really wants to help the order, to help free her people. So they kind of give her to someone to train her that hasn't really been around very much. He's grumpy. That is the love interest, Max, and he trains her and she devotes herself to the order. And we learn about her magic. We learn about like Max's past with the order. And I really like it because this is romantasy, but I feel like there's not too much spice in this book. There is some, but it's not over the top for me. I feel like this is a well-rounded book. There's so much more going on than the romance that it can stand on its own. And that's what I need from a romantasy. I need it to be able to stand on its own without any romance. If you were to take the romance out, would you still have a story? And you do. Now, I like the romance in this book. I like her relationship with Max. It's not enemies to lovers, which I appreciate. And I reread this because I want to read book 2. I had planned to read book 2 in May. I started it and did not get very far. Not because I'm not interested in the book, but I did feel like I needed a little break and then just ran out of time. So I enjoyed this just as much as I did 2 years ago when I read this, which was very great. I love when I reread a book and still love it, because that has not always been the case. Sometimes I reread books and I'm like, well, why did I read this? And then the last book that I read was The Midnight Train, which is a fantasy magical realism book by Matt Haig. I listened to this. I like his books, specifically The Midnight Library. That book made me sob. Like, I had to put the book down a few times because I was like literally sobbing. I really love that book. It's like one of my favorites, I would say. One of those books that I will always cherish, that I recommend. Matt Haig, I hope I'm saying his last name right. He was a self-help author before he started writing fiction. So his books very much have the like tone of self-help. I feel they're very thought-provoking, usually like sad, and I think they're very good. I've read 3 books by him, well now 4, and The Midnight Library I really loved. In that one we're following a female protagonist, and that one was very much It's a Wonderful Life. The Midnight Train is in the same world, so they're like same world, but we're not following the same characters at all. Like, you definitely read them apart from each other. You don't have to read them. It's not like book 1 and book 2. But in the Midnight Train, it's very much like A Christmas Carol. If I could compare it to a movie, Ghost of Past. How do you say it? Our protagonist, Willoughby? Ooh, I don't remember his name. He passes away. He's an older gentleman, and he finds himself on a train. It's the place you go before you go into the afterlife. To see your life flash before your eyes. You see your whole life through the train, like windows, before you go into the afterlife. Sorry, I'm just going to look up his name. What's his name? Wilbur's his name. So he goes on this train and sees his life, sees things that he wishes he would change. I like what I wrote on Goodreads. If you saw your life flash before your eyes, what would you want to change? Who would you appreciate more? What would you spend your time doing? Would you love more and focus on what truly matters? A beautiful reminder that life is about moments and the people we love that make it meaningful. That's what this book is about. Appreciating the people in your life, spending time doing what matters, spending time with the people that you love, prioritizing the people that you love, not wealth, not success. And I love books that make you think about life, and that was what this book really was. I was not as emotional with this book, and I think maybe it was because we were following a male protagonist instead of a female protagonist, and like issues that they had in either book were just very different. And I think I was able to connect with the female protagonist in The Midnight Library more than the male protagonist in this book, but still very good. I think if you like thought-provoking books about life, about time passing, I would really recommend this book. I recommended it to my mom. She's currently reading it because she also read The Midnight Library. And she liked that one too. So I'm really curious to see if she likes this one as much. But I thought it was very good. I was really excited to see that this one was coming out. And I'd be curious to see if he has more in the world. Because I feel like they're very popular. So I read 10 books fully, and I DNF'd 5. Actually, I DNF'd 6. So let's talk about those real quick. I DNF'd The Things We Never Say by Elizabeth Strout. I thought this was going to be like a favorite book. Based on the synopsis, I thought this book is right up my alley. Again, about life. This is about a teacher, and I love reading about teachers. Like, protagonist is a teacher. However, this book was incredibly political. I did not know that. I would not have read it. Nothing wrong with talking about politics, but I would rather avoid that when I'm reading a book. I read, you're escaping into this other world, or I feel like we are bombarded with political talk everywhere. So when it was very heavy in this book, I was just like, I really don't want to hear anything political. And I waited for a while because I was like, it's fine, there's some politics in this book, maybe it'll stop. And it just got more and more heavy, I guess. And then I looked it up, and Google was like, oh yeah, super political book. I was like, okay, it is not for me then. I don't want to read about politics when political arguments, political thoughts are just everywhere. So I DNF'd it, and I got really far into that book, like halfway. I DNF'd Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I loved Normal People and did not like this book. I thought there was so much relations, which I was a part of the grief, dealing with grief, I think, but it was just so much. And there were age gaps. We're following 2 brothers, and they both are having a lot of relations, and both of them have an age gap with their significant other. And I was really interested in the relationships that the brothers had together, but we followed them apart for a good portion of the book, and I just did not want to read about all the relations. I thought it was overkill. So I DNF'd that. It's also a long book, and I, like, maybe if it were as long as normal people, then I would have stuck it out, maybe, but it is a long book. I DNF'd The Last Letter from Your Lover by Jojo Moyes and The Giver of Stars by the same author. The Last Letter from Your Lover, I guess I should have assumed that there was infidelity in this book, but when it came up, I was like, oh, I think this is not something I really want to read. Protagonist had an accident and doesn't remember anything, but she's married, and she's her home recovering, and she has changed quite a bit, trying to figure out kind of life. And she realizes she's not really comfortable with her husband, as comfortable as she thinks she should be. She's like, we're married, why aren't I comfortable with you? And then she finds like a letter in one of her books from her lover. So she's trying to figure out what happened in her marriage, why aren't they happy, and who is this guy that she loves. So I just don't like that. And then The Giver of Stars is about a woman during World War I, I think. World War I or World War II in Kentucky. She has been recruited to help these female librarians deliver books to the people that live like out in Kentucky that don't have access to books, don't really have a lot of education, and it's a dangerous time. I don't remember if it's World War I or World War II or during the Great Depression. I don't remember exactly. I don't think it's World War II. And it's dangerous for these women to ride on horseback to go deliver these books. And she's kind of doing this to escape her father-in-law that she lives with, because they're very strict and religious, and she can't live up to her mother-in-law who's deceased. So she kind of just feels trapped in this house where she can't do anything. So she takes the job to help deliver the books, and that's when I DNF'd it. I do think this might be an interesting story. I just was not paying attention to it like an hour into, I feel like an hour and a half in book. I was just kind of like, I don't really care. It was not interesting enough to keep my attention. So I did DNF it. I don't think that it's a bad book. Like maybe I think the others are, in my opinion, not great books. I do think this had the potential to be good. I just wasn't interested. I was like listening to the book and thinking of anything else. And I was like, oh, I don't think I want to spend hours listening to this book. So I DNF'd that. And then I DNF'd The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I don't even remember what this book is about. Yeah. I just remember not liking it. Also DNF'd Beach Read by Emily Henry. I tried an Emily Henry and think that it was worth my time. All these friends are going to our friend's beach house, I think. And our protagonist is getting a divorce from her husband, and they have to pretend like everything's fine. I think that's the book. I think that's Beach Read. I just did not care. Did not care at all. Actually, I also DNF'd. I tried another romance, a very popular one. It's like blue with daisies on it. We leave behind the things we never say. Something like that. I thought that was going to be a sad book. That is, I found out, a spicy book very early on, and I did not like it. I really tried romance this month. Not worth my time. So my biggest disappointment out of the books that I finished was probably Love of My Afterlife, because I was really hoping that this was going to like be the romance book that I love. So this was my biggest disappointment. My worst book was, these two are hard. I think my worst book was The Last One at the Wedding. It wasn't bad, but I think out of all of these books, I would say that's the worst one, but still not bad. My biggest surprise was Strange the Dreamer. I really hoped I was going to love it. I did not expect to love it this much. So I would say this is my biggest surprise. And then my favorite book, which didn't get my highest review, but I think I had the most fun with this book, and it wasn't a surprise because I knew that it was going to be good, was Of Blood and Fire. And I think I just had so much fun annotating this book. This made me want to read really epic high fantasy this like sparked the desire to read the big books that some really like classic fantasy books. So this was my favorite book. I don't think it's a perfect book, but this was the best one of the month. Even though it wasn't a 5, there are reasons it wasn't. So that was my reading month. Honestly was not my best. April was pretty awesome. May, I wanted to read so many more books, but that's okay. I feel like it was a mid-month. June's going very well though, so I'm excited to talk about my June books. I'm very excited to pick out my next TBR. Like, there are videos coming, guys. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.